Welcome to the What We Want podcast. This is a special edition of Azaadville Legends, where our stories are brought to life.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ebrahim Mahomed Laher. My nickname is Ibi. I have 4 beautiful, respectable, loving 4 children. I moved in Azaadville in 1968 when I was 29 years old. It was, if I remember correctly, it was 1968 March. Who was living at that time? No one in Parajatec Avenue. I have photos to prove that. There was no houses. There was only a few houses. They were still building the houses. It was heartfelt. My first neighbor came after a while, Mr. and Mrs. Tokolia. And then my next neighbor was Ebrahim Kota. All roads were gravel, no tar roads. Then there were a few houses that were built in Azaadville, in Parajatec Avenue, in Azad Avenue, and in Gulabi Avenue. My back neighbor was Fatima Nanabai. She had she used to sell everything from her house. At that time, there were no shops at that time. They were still building the shops. And we had to get our bread and all the goodies, the daily requires, we used to get it from her. At that time, I was the only one that owned a kumbi. I was the only one that had transport in Azaadville. Nobody had car. Even a jockey used to buy, nobody had. He was living, that time he only came after about 2 or 3 weeks after me. There were no masjids. Our Jamaat Khana was ex-Maulana Umar's house. Remember that? Maulana Umar never used to live there. They only gave him the house after he became very sick and when he was teaching in a madrasa thereafter. All the interior walls of that house, they broke and we used to perform our namaz there. We performed even our Tarabi there. And the first person to perform Tarabi there was Mahmudi, Hafizi Mullah, my next door neighbor's Maulana's father. And then with him there was Saluji, there was, what was his name? Yeah, he used to perform Tarabi. And then Maulana Jibai was there. He used to perform Tarabi. And then that time the neighborhood was very small, and then they intended building masjid. And you remember there is a masjid street here where Ibrahim Waracha's house is. Marhum Ibrahim Bhai Waracha. They intended, and they found that the plot was very small. Then Marhum Baba came out with the idea, no, this place is very small and we have to go to collect money, and then that's how they bought that land where the existing masjid is. And then the instrument in collecting the money at that time was Mahmud Desai, a lot of other people, in fact, Isubai Jockey Babu, or Isubai Jockey Wadi, they used to collect money. And then they started running madrasa and we used to pay a fees and everybody started contributing to the money, and they used to go out in a country and collect the money, and that's how the masjid came up. Not as how you're looking at the masjid today. After that there was a big renovation of the mosque, and that's how it became how you see it today. Marhum Ghulam Hussain Baba, he passed away in my hands in Makkah. He's buried in Jannatul Mala, and I was right there. And that was the experience I had, and we stayed at Aisha Buli at that time.
Mahomed Desai.
And then after a little while, his brother even passed away. He was from a commodity port, and one unique thing which I experienced at that time, Marhum Ghulam Hussain Baba never used to travel anywhere. He always used to carry, well dressed, always used to carry the Quran Sharif. That time it was not all this luxury what you see. We had a simple room
In Makkah.
in Makkah, in Medina, and we looked for that Quran Sharif everywhere in a small room. We couldn't find it. It was amazing. I think the Quran Sharif went with him. The person that passed away in Makkah also is Sadiq Waracha's father. Sadiq Waracha's father. He was right there. He's also buried in Jannatul Mala. Ebrahim Dinat. He passed away in an accident.
Medina.
He passed away. He's buried in Medina. Dr. Kadwa. He passed away when I was right there. And these are the few people that I remember. Allah Pak give them all Jannatul Firdaus. Ameen. Masjid was much smaller at that time, and then all the extension what you see, they had no upstairs. It was just a flat. And then after the renovation, that's how you see it, how it is now. But it was a small masjid, and then everybody started contributing, and that's how it became the masjid. Schools, primary school, Mr. D.K. Patel shifted from Kyrgyzstan to become the first principal of the primary school. High school, there was a high school. The principal was, what was his name again? I'll tell you. Soki, I'll get the name just now. Soki Patel, Soki Naidu from Azaadville, from Lenasia. He used to travel from Lenasia. He was the first principal there. After Mr. Soki Pillai, Mr. Juta became the principal of the high school. Mr. Juta became the principal of the high school. And after that, you see, Mr. Naidu is there, and that's how it is today. My only child that attended the Azaadville school was Fatima, my youngest. The others went to Woodney school. The reason was there was a lot of political interference in the education, and they used to deprive our children. So I had to send them to Woodney school. Mahomed, Surya, Shamim, and there was a few other students that used to travel with them to that school. Fatima was small, and then she only attended 2 school year. And they all make success there at the school. As far as the shops are concerned, like I said, there was only Fatima Nanabai. There was no shops at that time, and then slowly the shops came up. And then the first shop that was set up was a butcher shop. It belonged to a Mr. Khan from Lenasia. He used to travel from Lenasia to open it. And then Sunita had a fruit and vegetable shop where the butcher shop is at the moment. Ashraf butcher shop is at the moment. Ashraf only came afterwards. And then my work, I used to sell stationery from the house. Most of my stock I used to store at Fatima Nanabai's house, because my business was a very, very big business. I used to sell a lot of books, and I was the first stationery Indian distributor in the country. My main business was in Soweto. During those time at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, I used to go to Soweto. No problem, no problem. And then when Azaadville was declared, it was not meant for Rudiport residents. It was only for Kyrgyzstan and Renfontaine. So quickly I had to shift to Renfontaine. I had to tell my uncle, and I had a little shop. And I used to live near the Hawk, sheep farm, and the smell was there all the time, and my children was there. And then Mr. Smith came, I remember his name. He came, we were about 28 families at that time in Renfontaine, in that one area. And then Mr. Smith came at night, around about 7, 8 o'clock at night. He said, who would like to move to Azaadville? I was the only one that said yes. And everybody said no. He said, no, we don't want to move to Azaadville. So Mr. Smith came the next morning. He said, come and see me 7 o'clock in the morning in my office. So I was there on time. He said, why you only? I said, Mr. I'm suffering, and I got no place, and my children are growing up, and I'm desperate for the house. So let's go to Azaadville. Then he showed me the house. And then first thing I asked him, where is the schools going to be? Then he pointed the school where it is at the moment.
The primary school.
The primary school, the high school, where they had the plan. Where you see, there was a park just next to Shirin Mullah's house. There was a huge park there. At the moment, there's a big house there at the moment. Then I pointed out, I said, all right, now I must look for the nearest section. So that's how he pointed the house. He said, which one you want? The cheapest house at that time was 1,500 rand. The next house was 3,000 rand. My house was 4,500 rand. The biggest one, the biggest plot in the city. So I said, all right, I'll take this one here. And that's how I came to stay in this house. Yeah, and that's how I came to Azaadville. Azaadville changed for the better. People are all united. Neighbors are like a family. Street shop, masjids, all came up. Like I say, Sunita was the first shop that sell fruit and vegetable, and Suleiman Kaka bought that property. And up till today, the property is still owned by him. Up till today, he collects rent from them, from Ashraf and whoever the shops that are. And that's how it became out. Message to the youth, don't leave Azaadville. Big mistake. Make it your home, a permanent home, yours and your children and your grandchildren's home. Azaadville is a great community. We are like one family. You cannot find Azaadville better place to go there. All those people that left Azaadville, they all regret. They want to all come back. To come back, you pay a heavy price for the houses today. Today you can't even get a room to rent in Azaadville. So please don't leave Azaadville.
A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. This is a special edition of Azaadville Legends, where our stories are brought to life.